Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Dream Labs. Really want to begin here today with a bit of a salutation. I really regret not being able to fly last Wednesday afternoon on my regular programming streaming system. We moved offices, and boy, what was an absolute nightmare getting all this stuff. I had to move from the first floor back up to the third floor, so a lot of things took place that I was not able to control. And when I finally got organized here, too much to kind of move around and try to get things done. And the equipment wasn't set up as well, so we had to really delay a bit here. So we're here today, and really glad to be back on board. And I thought it'd be kind of an interesting program today. I had a hard time, difficult time trying to figure out what the title of this thing. Um, so I decided to call it just the Honda North America project. And what was really interesting about the whole process was that it's more of a project in terms of education or training systems with our engineering group. One of the major facilities, of manufacturing facilities. And the difficulty was that the engineering group and some of the manufacturing people had a hard time or difficult time communicating ideas for parts and pieces, exterior design and interior design to their manufacturers and suppliers. So I was called in to put together a series of programs for this group, and it was very extensive and also extremely enlightening to me in terms of work. I'm automobile business all my life, but get to work with the Honda group was really interesting because, again, they were all engineers involved in product development, manufacturing, and material systems. And we were able to put together a program together for them. And what they asked me to do is go through each element in the exterior. I went through a series of training systems that I'll maybe show you later on how to develop an automobile proportion, perspective studies, 1 point, 2 point perspective, how to change views. So a series of publications of small little training booklets were done for that. But I thought we'd take a moment today to look at one very interesting little sequence of this. It takes you right through the whole process of conceptual sketch into section studies, into exploded studies, and assembly pieces. So you can see what the whole process, what the booklets look like. And we've ended up with something like 24 training booklets, maybe 12 to 14 pages each, all done for Honda in terms of a title page and starting out with sketches, moving down the line here with elements that they had to deal with. So I just wanted to show you this. This is one of the sheets of the build list, for example. In the booklet too, we were covering things, for example, and I'll show you these in a moment. A study on bed liners, how to start that and detail it through. SUV recorder panels, load floors, headliners, passenger fleet headliners, seat pillar studies, instrument panel and tunnel console, seating systems, interesting, rear seating configuration with integrated tunnel console, tunnel console concepts, and then front doors, coupes and sedans configuration, and just interesting lineup here. And that was just part of the interior piece. It didn't even get into floor studies or escutcheons or seat frames and all that material as well. So that'll give you some idea what the build list was and what it looked like. So that's actually the actual components we're actually working with. So I started out here. I'm going to show you just some real quick little thumbnail sketches for each category that we're looking at here. This is probably just a few of the several that we've put together. And to try to pare it down and give you some idea of where the categories went and applications or notebooks we put together for the staff to deal with. And I thought it was interesting because they're very, the staff was extremely lucid, very extremely intelligent, very visionary people to work with, tremendous engineering group from a development side. But they had the problem was they have an idea, but they couldn't illustrate it or put it down in sketch form to work with a vendor or a manufacturer. So that was my task, to come in and work with them, to discuss things with them. Then I come back, put notes together, feedback information, and run back and forth and get these publications put together. So a very extensive but extremely rewarding process to deal with here. So this is some ideas of the sketches that I started with, and then from these sketches you'll see one by one I develop a whole lineup of things from beginning to end. This one was a pickup, the Honda pickup study, where you've got well studies, some storage areas, tailgate processing and the like, backlights, back storage and the like. This is a basic footprint or a basic footprint sketch that I used to put together all the elements, pages and features that you want to develop. So then the next one we did was getting into load floors, SUVs. I'll see if I put these side by side to work with here. Same principle. This was just a master line drawing to kind of work with. The rear wheel covers, storage areas in the back, lids and storage panels, and floor studies for SUVs and the like. So that was another study together. And we went from there to headliners, which was interesting. This is a headliner for a van or SUV study, where they like the sunshades, maybe a power pod of some sort, belting systems, and a rear power pod. It's a basic section study to kind of work with these guys. Each one of these sketches, that was the lead page, and then a series of sketches. We had to turn the view around, and I'll show you a moment here. That's another view here coming in. This was a part of the process too, looking at headliner from another view. This is for SUV. This is more of a headliner for a basic coupe, sedan extended. But they're looking at certain features to work with here, putting into practice. Again, the whole intent was to let these really hopefully develop confidence with these engineers to put ideas out in sketch form, then get to a manufacturer or materials individual to have the parts manufactured. So there we go, and we move along here. That was a second headliner study. Then we went into, for example, rear quarter package shelving and sail panel studies, and a little bit of trim work. That was a master drawing, again, a little bit of a partial headliner to work with. That was part of the problem too. Then we came back with the next family of forms here. Instrument panel, very simple shapes. I didn't want to get, that was another thing that was interesting too. Going through the process, working with them, there was not a lot of conceptual advanced vehicle thinking. It was more fundamental. Here's a part, it looks like this. Going to take it through the storyline, and then we can change shape as we go. Once we understand how the process functions, we can get more advanced or more avant-garde with it. So that's what I really wanted to keep right here. Start out with. It was not a case of doing advanced concept work. It was very simple, fundamental pieces that they could work with to understand and begin to put their ideas together. So the instrument panel and tunnel console work, that was another part of the process. In the seating design, again, very simple bench seat, bucket seat, nothing elaborate. And these, again, became the foundation sketches to develop the whole storyline from start to finish. But then again, rear seating, for example, extended tunnel console work, master line drawing to work with that. Change the configuration of the trim. The seat inserts and tunnel console can move as well. So we can kind of move around a little bit, be a little more lucid with these things. But again, the whole intent was to get these engineers who were brilliant and put it mechanically, but the actual sketch rendering or ideation is where they were missing certain things. So there's it. And now in the tunnel consoles, rear quarter, in the tunnel console studies, no, it's very simple shape. But just give me an idea of how to put together perspective, what elevation might look like, how it ties in the instrument. And there's another one here. Straight up, tunnel console, and a different view from the tunnel console, looking at from the rear, forward in the cockpit itself, or the front end. Let me line these guys up with the right. There we are. Now, again, a different view, tunnel console. Again, a little bit of a section study as it ties into the instrument panel. This one floats a little bit. This one wraps back into the IP. So that was where we are there. If we go down the line here with this one, in the door trim, for example, a very simple coupe door, and a sedan as well. Again, just armrest, lighting, door release systems, basic setup for door trim, molded pieces, trim inserts, all those things began part of the whole process. And when we put it all together, pretty interesting how, I'd say on the average, each publication, I think it's about 24 different little booklets. I'll show you one in a moment here from start to finish. And subject matter, breaking down the vehicle, interior and exterior. And interesting how it went from sketch, final setup, but the little pieces that were done that were even more magical for them was how to put up perspective, how to put together a perspective. I did another manual on that too, how to work with a 1 point and a 2 point perspective, just some basically mechanical stuff. So there we are with the doors, there it is there. And again, another view, more of an elaborate little bit of a system to show them how that had some organic shape for it, and not so much so stiff and rigid like some of the other sketches I was showing you here. But again, that's another little line drawing study for that element to work with, and they could use this as an underlay or go through the process again, step 1, step 2, and so on, to develop their theme or idea. And now, this is interesting. This is where we start. This is actually the first page. Let me get rid of these guys here, and we'll just kind of walk you through these guys. This is the cover page. This publication was called Developing a Tunnel Console. Very simple. A little concept sketch of the exterior of the machine and then its relationship to a tunnel console. No, it's very simple. Not a lot of avant-garde. It was not very advanced in terms of basic piece, cup holders, storage area, switches, storage, etc. So that was a cover page for it. We had put the graphics, the logo on this logo on it, and then a title page and like all that was done for each one of the categories. So I'm going to line these up like so here. And we'll just take them right down the line. So we start with that cover page. Then the first set we did was that became a little 1-point study. Yeah, taking this guy into a concept sketch here. We're gonna line these up so we're gonna out of it. There we are. That's a little better right there. So that's how we started. Concept sketch, 1-point study, into a 2-point sketch. Same view, just rotating a little bit. And by the way, too, all these sketches you see here, prior to these booklets being done, as I said a few moments ago, we also did a series of perspective, basic cubes and volumes that they could work in and begin to cut into certain things and begin to develop proportions. So that was done prior to putting these together. So they had a perspective layout in addition to a product layout. So there's another view here. And again, front 3/4, and again, the same overall shape into a rear 3/4. Try to keep everything very consistent and very simple. So once we had that established, now we start to move into what I refer to, for example, as getting like a soldier study, getting the proportions down, height to length, in addition to what we did here. The next series of sketches, we're just putting some real thumbnail sketches on, maybe some different, again, notice we took that same shape inside of site, put some cutaways in it, and where the storage pockets might be, and what the shape might look like. Is it more fluid? Is it still very stoic? Again, putting it in place, for example, if it's a location where all the carpeting, and it didn't change much, and we didn't want it to. It was more of a case of getting things simplified. Here's a lesson: A is to B, C and D, and right down the line from concept to completion. Very simple way to put together an idea. Then they can take those ideas to manufacturers, or developers, and materials individuals, and get feedback. And I think the most important thing that I go through the whole process here today, this exercise, was this. The real goal was to give A, these engineers confidence, B, to teach them visualization skills, and C, understand how sketch rendering works and how that becomes an asset, a great marketability skill for them in dealing with their client base and their management, both above and below. Very good lineup all the way through. That to me was a great lesson plan for me, how that all began to interact and improve the process. So here we go. That was the key to me, confidence, getting it down and really understanding how to put together. If you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right either way. That's what this thing began to do. I wanted them to know that they can do this and do it well. And training manuals really helped the thing to clarify that purpose. Again, back to elevations or soldier studies. And then now we move into, for example, what is a very traditional approach. This is what they work with on a day-to-day basis. Much more of a 3-view drawing. I mean, again, let me get these lined up so they're crooked. A 3-view drawing showing, again, elevation, front view, and a plan view, and a little perspective study to kind of, and this is interesting too, because they like to think in terms of plan, elevation, section study. So this kind of helped them see how that forward looks like, then rotated perspective, what it begins to look like from that point of view as well. So that was the beginning of that. Then we went to another series. Now notice, look, putting in position a little bit, teach them how to put that in place next to a seating system, door sill area. And again, a little animation here showing how the door begins to open up. Is it going to go vertical? Is it going to go horizontal? We want that to work. Well, that was interesting too. So little pen, these are all original sketches, by the way. They're done for them. And again, here's another phase where we kind of rotate the view a little bit, and now we're showing, does it slide? Does it pop up like we did in the other sketch? And at the same time, what does this begin to do in terms of storage? What things move? How do they slide? What's underneath all those pieces? And are there pockets, for example, for static things and animated things? Is this container, is it removable? Those are features that we can kind of work into with them. And again, that was another part of the process of this whole training system with their engineering staff, was to not only get the sketch down, but to add features to it. Is it mobile? Is it interchangeable? Is it adaptable? Extended, abbreviated? Going to go plus and minus for packaging? Can it go SUV to coupe and sedan? Keeping it all very versatile was very interesting. So another little sketch here about what we're looking at. No more detail work than the next one. Adding that good old famous, really funny story about this. Everybody just loved cup containers. It was a matter of, you have to have more cup containers. You have to be versatile enough to carry 3 different styles. It could be back and we put on the side. Well, we don't have the room to do that, but nonetheless, fascination was the number one fascination for consumers at dealerships and in manufacturing systems coming from the public was the especially in SUVs, the availability of cup holders. Unbelievable. It was just interesting to get that feedback from them. So that's where we were. Front area with a little bit of, again, putting clearance in for the actual handle to work with, both handle and non-handle cup containers. Then we move to the next section where we get the back side of this thing. Well, now you've got some additional pop-out pieces to show them, for example, that it pops open. You've got can storage back here or coffee holders. But you know, the thing that's nice about this too, this sketch began to open up a big door for them. But they were concerned with for animation or motion. How do you show that? What do you do to show that? And to keep it in perspective. So the lesson was to rotate the door down, keep the same proportion in the opening, and add some of the things in it and show by arrow indication what happens. That goes in and out, up and down. Simple things like that were really big help to them. And animating a sketch was really invaluable. So that was just fun to deal with. And another page opened up and another horizon learned from these individuals who are extremely talented and gifted. I'm going to keep moving this around so that I can work it on. So that was animation, and it is wave one. Now we move into the next step. This is where they live. This is where they really live in terms of, notice, section study from that element into section study. Notice some of the material thickness could be all molded. For example, injection molded shell that has a little bit of thickness to it and some draft angles to it. And then we build that in a soft padding, slidable tray, and section back, and just a half section study, just showing them how that piece would look like and how to cut it in perspective. And again, a very simple elevation here to show them. And here it is an elevation, depth of the storage, where the location for switches are, storage, and storage. So again, it sounds so simple, but again, effective from their point of view that, boy, you know, once we see this thing and begin to open it up, and now that I know how that works, knows how the perspective works too. Keep it on tow, back to a vanishing point, back to a vanishing point. That's all part of the process. So, beginning of some section study, then we just detail them out. For example, in this next sketch, showed us the detail through the storage box area here, and a little switch detail. Notice how intricate it gets. But that's what they wanted to see. They wanted to think through that process to make that element come together very nicely. So, so interesting to see that come together from their point of view. Again, showing the thickness material, how one dubs into another. Where the section location is, again, showing the thickness of this transit. Again, body set and molded piece, and then again, into that goes the storage of detail and elevation of what that section might look like. How hugs the actual tunnel console. This still would be part of this lower piece, will still be part of the tunnel console. There's no illustrator. So we're going to carry on with some of the section studies here. Now move a little bit further with it. Getting into, for example, what do the materials look like? Is it foam against some molded piece? Yep. Are the clips are being assembled? Mm-hmm. Section study again through the whole process. This wraps underneath, comes back in again. Animation here showing close, open, switch location. And again, this is a detail in that area right in there. So again, notice each sketch has a value to it in terms of, yeah, you do the overview, then you begin to detail and pick it up and just lay it in there and show where the process is. Here's the overall, here's a detail A and a detail B. And I didn't put any labeling on it or at this stage. These are just the sketches, the finished product, and all kinds of notes and lessons all over the fact, so they could kind of follow through what we're doing with it here. So again, section study, very valuable. Go back in again, this again, notice we extended the front end a little bit and showed us, for example, what's missing in this view is a trailing end front portion of the storage. So there are two pockets here. And notice again, very simple. This study here, for example, shows us where we are with that slider, and goes into the second bay, and then this one, and then it's just a little bit of detail where it might be a little bit of a foam, softer material on top of what this grip is doing here. So that's a detail right through here. Now, that comes in. Could be a soft liner on the inside of the actual box itself. So taking a lot of time to really work with them and what their needs were and where their priorities were. I think that was interesting too, because each meeting we had, we took down, laid the sketches out, we put notes on them, add this, delete this, we need more of this, more of that. Very, very strong communication skills back and forth, which in my opinion is the secret to successful design. You can't go through it as an island. It's interesting that I might have an idea, but they might have a better idea, and 9 times out of 10 they did. Again, this is their program, not mine. I was charged with putting in clarification to it, and worked, I think from that point of view, it worked rather well. So again, the importance, it's not so much, let me clarify something here just briefly. It's not so much the importance that detail rules it all. But if you have a good design and it makes common sense and it begins, all the pieces come together, you'll find that the detailing of that piece is much more streamlined and much more fluid and much more manageable. But if you're out there all the time trying to guess about where the parts are, what's plastic, what's molded, where the clips are going to go, how do you mount this thing, how do you explode the door, how do you assemble it, that makes it extremely unforgiving. I think a lot of the engineers that in times gone by, it's just a lot of guesswork. But this took a lot of guesswork out of it in terms of helping them see how these pieces fit together, how to formulate a program that works for them. So again, more detail. There's another little front end detail of the cup section, what that looks like. There's a half section up front here. Then this is more of the actual finished piece itself, the back of the itself. Storage area section through it again, showing where the sections follow through, the thinnesses are, the depth are in terms of what that looks like. Very elaborate, but at the same time extremely helpful. Pretty good, great exercise. All the pieces together. I think many of us in the design business, I hope I know you'll appreciate it. A lot of it's all visual. It's all flashing. It's a very cool looking sketch. That's fine, but if you can't build it and you can't work with it, it has a lot of disharmony to it. It fractures you quite a bit. So what I think is interesting is that the whole idea of being able to really put together a nice follow-through form and detail it out and then begin to build it extremely paramount. That's where the real value of this whole exercise. All the 24 publications we did were really great. Here's another little detail here. Going back into, now this goes back into the padded assembly, back side of the actual tunnel itself. Pad assembly in one point perspective, showing the bucket area. Blue is a substrate, the actual molded piece. Then into the depth channel here for as far as sections go, how it comes in and over the top of the material. A little soft again, pad forming skin on top of this with a sole line, and again the foam system underneath it. So it gives them how to put a detail in a sketch, just like that. But if the manufacturer says which is molded and which is the soft fabric, by putting a cut section through it, that's one way to illustrate those thoughts. You can actually do a slice through it as well, but we felt that this is the best way to explain how that process comes together. So then move along here. Now here becomes the far part. This is the fun part. We're moving back to the final sketch. Here's the actual tunnel console. And once again, I think it really bears repeating. This is not a very advanced vehicle process. Functional teaching method. We kept the shapes very simple so they could comprehend it and work with it. Now, as a result of this, I'll just inject this thought. Once we got through this whole process, I'm back about a month or two later to kind of check on the status. These guys were doing forms and organic shapes that were absolutely marvelous to see. So comprehension set in, and it opened up the door for inspiration, which I thought was great. I mean, that's what this thing should do. You take something extremely, I've always believed this with all my heart. One of the great design principles that I think what I learned from Sid Mead was this. You make the simple complex, make the complex simple. So it's inverted. And this is taking a very complicated piece and simplifying it to a very common base. Really interesting to work with. So now we move into like exploded assemblies. What goes where? Notice it comes down and slides in on top. This goes right into the actual aperture. There's a little detail of that whole process in a different view coming together. So there's a sit there. Another assembly drawing here about what happens up front. That piece going in, and notice a section substrate, but gusseting underneath this thing, how that drops in, and you've got the molded piece underneath. All that gusseting reinforced the strength of the viewer, the actual shape itself. Let me go back in here, find with this guy. There's a little assembly here, drawing of the actual crash pad, or the actual mounting clip, where it locates, how it screws into the process of the base of the machine. Assembly again here, and then soft pad into the over the top of that bucket. So that was it right there. And then go back in here, down the line, soft pad, elbow area, armrest area on the tunnel console. Now we'll go back to the rear section of this thing, showing how this little pieces of add-on assembly back here. Notice all the clips are there to kind of work that form into it. This snaps over the top of that. And you got a little bit of a storage box, for example, ahead of it here. That's the actual, this is this view from another perspective here. I'll kind of pair together, help them see how these pieces all come together. So that's a rear assembly. And this one, for example, shows us they wanted a different approach. For example, this cup container, instead of having it fold down and flip out of it, you kind of trigger the button. This guy triggers out and comes in, and this does a neat job. It sits inside this aperture here, and then this is all closed. I'll show you in a moment what it looks like. It's all closed, but when you press the button or release it, this thing just pops out and this controller rings, and they grip the actual working with here. Again, showing the rear view again, the actual separate assembly. into the actual tail section of the tunnel, the storage box underneath, top, the elbow area, and then this little cup container piece. And last but not least, this is, it all looks together from the rear 3/4. That's what the assembly begins to look like. So all those pieces together, and you've got yourself a tunnel console study. And it's really interesting because notice again, we're showing here is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-part assembly. And this is all the molded piece here. That's all done in a mold. That's all injection mold. And these become, again, injection molded, soft sculpture, off the material, and again, injection molded. But it's a combination of things here to make it all together. But that finalized, this sketch finalized the whole process, final assembly drawing of these pieces. So they could send this thing out to a manufacturer and say, here are the parts. This is what they look like. They go like this. This is how it all comes together. And then also they can take this piece and extrapolate a little further with it and begin to really develop more things from that. And but I think another good aspect of this whole process was for every piece of component we did here, whether it was tunnel console, door, SUVs, seating systems, door trim, headliners. What was a really interesting aspect of this is it opened up the door for them to add new things, change some of the character very quickly to get more features into a process. That didn't have to really fall in love with the shape. They could actually change the plan view a little bit, change the elevation a little bit, extend it, shorten it, go plus or minus, and really make a huge difference. So very interesting thing here. So that basically wraps up the whole series of sketches here. I thought interesting for you to see this today, hopefully. I hope this has made some sense for you, because oftentimes I'll go through and get back to more traditional things in the next few weeks or so, because the holiday season coming in. It might be a little difficult to do that, but I'll try to get one more in next week. Do more sketch rendering stuff. I've got some things coming up from Rolls-Royce, some Ferrari work, some other consignment pieces, some interior space, landscape work again. So some graphic product identity pieces, corporate identity pieces. So a lot of different things coming in the next few days or so. But I thought this was a good exercise for you to take a look at today to let you see that, yeah, it's nice to do a finished, polished sketch, but sometimes you have to break it all down. And I thought this is a good exercise for me, at least, to show you that it's more than just a picture. You have to go back in and really fine tune this stuff. And this whole discipline with Honda was really terrific to work with. I came out of there with some information, tremendous learning curve for me. In every division, exterior and interior, extremely lucid people, very, very visionary, great staff to work with, all the way through, extremely comfortable to deal with. And a lot of good feedback from them. In fact, I went in and did this program with them, and I went back in and did some things for Acura, some conceptual exterior work, interior pieces. Also, I think I showed you a program that the ATV Sport System, they called me back in and did a whole series of concepts off-road vehicles. So it opened up a door for me, and I was very grateful for that opportunity. But I think that the thing I'm most grateful for here in my streams is to show you the diversity and the depth and the spread of information in industrial design that we can work with. And it all works together. It doesn't come down to, it doesn't matter how well you sketch, how well you illustrate. It's a thinking process, how you put pieces together, how you see certain things. You facet these points from A to B to C to D and take it down the line and begin to go from concept to completion, which makes it extremely, extremely interesting. So I hope this has been of help to you. And hopefully next week we'll kind of switch gears and maybe do some automotive or sketch rendering work or some product work, and we'll see what comes in. I'm planning hopefully to see you all next Wednesday at the same time, around 2:30, and we'll kind of carry on here. And then maybe in the new year, I might have to change my schedule because of the timing system. I might go twice a week. I might keep the 1 day a week. We'll see how it opens up here. Once I get my office squared away, I'll put more stuff on the wall behind me. You'll only see 1 or 2 sketches. There'll be more things going up. As I said in the beginning of the stream too, I had a big move last week. I was unable to go fly and put a program on it because all the equipment wasn't ready to go. We're now in and we're settling and got some together, and again some neat things happening and doing a lot of neat stuff here. And by the way too, if you have a moment, please take a look at my new website at drcontrast.com. I'm going to shout out of the standing ovations to an individual that has been working with on this, Michael Tees of IP Forge. The guy's an absolute genius. He just put the whole thing together for me. It's more animated now. I think what I like about the whole process of my website, before it was good, it was well done, but it didn't show individuals what I did. And this new one shows video work. We're going to add some things to it. We've got a great lineup going together. We're also going to transfer over next year, by the end of the year, hopefully. transfer everything into some YouTube work, get more of that saturation. So all these plans are out there. I'm going to do more filming work, start doing some short clips to kind of put it to a series of categories like instructional, illustration, marker work, etc., breaking it all down and adding to my website to give it more jump and a lot more zest. But pardon me. I just want to take a moment again to thank Michael. If he's watching, great. Thank you so much, Michael. If not, hope you pick it up later. He did a tremendous job in a very short period of time, and we stripped it all down. We authored some things, rewrote some things, and put some more pieces into it. Much more animated, much more active, and I'm really pleased with it. It looks terrific, and we're going to add a store to it, so that's all coming. All the work I've been doing with some prints and t-shirts and some fabric and apparel work and get that on the website. So we'll keep you posted on that as well. But in the meantime, I hope you have a great day, tremendous weekend. I want to thank you for tuning in here today. I much appreciate the time spent. I was finished with the fact that you know full well how I feel about this. Grateful for the fact that an audience to work with, and I really appreciate those of you who tune in and watch. Hope it's been helpful. It's been helpful to me because it keeps me active. It keeps me aware of the fact that I need to really do some really good communication skills when it comes to drawing and thinking and the process they're captive therein. And last but not least, I hope you, again, please visit my website at drcontrast.com. If you have anything you'd like to work on or work with, any questions or whatever to down a program or work with, drop me a note at jim@drcontrast.com, and I'll be happy to respond, and we'll put together some programs for you. And last but not least, always end up with this. I think it's the most critical part of the day. Never forget, remember to dare to be great, because you are. You've done a tremendous job here today. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great day and all the very best. And look forward to seeing you hopefully next Wednesday. And again, dare to be great, because you are. Thank you. Bye-bye.